Music for this episode of About to Break is provided by Cat Beach Music. Whether you're looking to score an entire film or just need to find the perfect vibe for your next commercial project, our friends Bobby and Jen Hartree have what you're looking for. Check them out today at catbeachmusic.com. I wonder if there's a point that you get to where you stop being shocked that time goes by so fast. It's May 23rd. What is it, spring? Is that what it's called? Where did the time go? I can't believe that we're already almost to summer. It's crazy. I'm sitting right now in the World Shed Quarters here in SoCal. Got a nice misty morning, a little May showers going on. Looking over the sea of furniture that Katie has collected that she's going to transform from discarded, unwanted pieces into glorious, glorious furniture for people. I'm just having a pondering morning. You know, those mornings where you just kind of reflect on life and where you're at. And I looked at the calendar and I couldn't believe it was already May. I am totally shocked. Anyway, guys, thanks for having this moment with me. This is a great episode. This is episode 75. Wow, that's a big number. I never would have thought we would have got this far, but we're here, guys. Episode 75. And I never would have thought, thinking back years and years ago, being a kid, sitting at Wizard's Magic Dinner Theater in Hollywood, California, there at the City Walk, watching Chris Mitchell perform on stage and just kill. I mean, this guy is so stinking hilarious, knows how to host a show, knows how to really care for an audience. I would have never thought then, you know, being a kid watching him perform, that I would have a podcast. First of all, as a kid, that wasn't a thing. I didn't even know what a podcast was. I would have thought that was one of those little like handheld communication devices that we would have in the future with our hoverboards and our DeLoreans. But I sat there in Wizards amazed at this guy and just thought, man, it'd be so cool one day to be able to do stuff like what he does. And to think, man, now I just sat down with him and recorded. I'm such a huge fan of Chris Mitchell and his work that this conversation was a joy to have, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. Katie and I just got back from Atlanta last week, did the show last Wednesday in Atlanta, and it was so fun. Thank you to everyone who came out to Smith's Old Bar. We packed out the place, guys. We did it. Sold out show. If you're listening and you want us to come out your way, let us know where you're at. Drop us a line, drop us an email, and we'll do whatever we can to find a show in your area that we can all be a part of. So go to abouttobreakpodcast.com and send us a little note. Let us know where we should go next. In fact, coming up here in about 10 days, I'll be traveling to Florida. June 4th, I'll be performing at Wizards Theater there in Orlando, Florida. If you're in the Orlando area, I would love to see you there. Please come say hey. One last thing before we get into this episode. Again, I say it every week, but a huge thank you to all the producers of the show. Everyone who's been supporting on Patreon. It's because of you guys that we can make this show possible. So thank you to everyone who's gone to abouttobreakpodcast.com, clicked on Become a Producer, and supported the show. For as little as $1 a month, you can be one of the producers. And once you start getting into $3 or $5 a month, you start getting some fun perks and rewards. I'd love to send you guys some stuff just as a thank you for caring enough to invest in this show. Even $1 or $2 a month makes a huge difference. So thank you to everybody who's producing the show, and thank you to everyone who's been sharing their feedback and what you like about it and what you enjoy. All right, enough gabbing, guys. Let's get into the show. This is episode 75, my conversation with the wonderful Chris Mitchell.
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
Something is about to break.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to About to Break. I'm your host, Taylor Hughes, and I'm sitting here in Los Angeles, California.
LA.
With Chris Mitchell.
Glad to be here.
Thank you for doing this, man. I'm glad to be here. We're at your place.
My place, yeah. This is my first podcast.
This is it?
Yeah.
I'm your first?
You are my first podcast.
That feels very special. Thank you. Thank you for doing mine first.
Happy to do it.
Sorry, Nick Paul. This is exciting for me because we were just talking about life and magic, and I have been a huge fan of your work for years and years. I remember when I was coming up here in LA and going to see you at Wizards.
Wow.
And it was the first time I saw somebody really host a show. I'd seen lots, and growing up at the castle, you see people that would be like, and now here's so-and-so.
Yeah.
But you really were the host of the show. I felt like you were caring for the audience. And
yeah, that was a great experience for me, getting that job at Wizards. And I got to work with, some of the greatest names in the business. And it was like schooling for me. So, back then I was still learning, how to MC and host a show. And, I learned a lot from all the people that worked there. And it was a great experience. Yeah.
I remember the first time going in there and just being like, I can't believe this is a place. Like, this is a real, that this exists is pretty rad. That was such a fun spot.
Yeah. Well, I was trained to be a studio guide at Universal.
Mm-hmm.
And, at the time, 93, it was minimum wage, which was $5 an hour.
Right.
And I'm going, I don't know if I can live on this.
Yeah.
And it seemed like, going to be a lot of work. I'm working for Universal Studios, but I'm a studio guy.
Right.
Making minimum wage. So I walked down City Walk, which hadn't quite opened yet. Getting ready to open.
That's right. Yeah.
And I saw, Wizards. I remember reading about this place. So it wasn't even a planned thing. I just see the place and I went, I knocked on the door.
Yeah.
They were still putting the finishing touches on it.
Still setting it up. Yeah.
And I walked in and I go, is there a manager here I could talk to? Yeah. So I went upstairs. I met Fred Wood, the entertainment director. And, handed my card and my brochure. And I said, I'm a magician, just moved to town.
Yeah.
He said, when can you start? I said, well, when do you open? And that's how it started. I literally knocked on the door. That's
incredible. You just kind of walked in cold.
And
you had never met Fred before?
I had never met Fred before. And I didn't find out till years later, one of the reasons why he just, I didn't audition. I just showed him my brochure and he saw my card and saw that I was interested.
Yeah.
And I found out years later, he goes, Fred liked your voice. That's one of the reasons why he thought,
oh, wow.
I've been told I have an excellent face for radio.
You do have an incredible voice.
No, I didn't realize till years later, that's one of the reasons. So you never know what it's going to be that's going to get you the gig,
That's wild, man. And you had where did you move to LA from at the time?
Boston.
Okay.
Yeah.
Born and raised in Boston?
Born and raised in Boston. I was at a magic convention.
Okay.
Out in Boston, and I met Bill and Irene Larson.
Okay.
And, for me, that was like meeting royalty.
Right.
And the castle seemed like
Had you been to the castle before? Or
I hadn't been on a commercial airline before.
Oh, wow.
And
so you just read about it in magazines and heard people talk about the castle. And
it was like a dream place,
Right.
And Bill gave me a card. Hey, send me a video. And this is back when it was VHS.
Right.
I sent him a VHS tape and I booked the castle. And for me, it was like,
right.
That's it.
So the first time you came to the castle was when you were working. Like you had.
Yes.
What?
I flew out. I was booked in the parlor.
Yeah.
And I came out with my, bag of tricks, and it was, that was it. A year later, I just packed my truck and moved out.
You were just you just fell in love with the city.
The city. Yeah. Los Angeles.
Was Boston, did it have like a big magic, community back then? Or?
Oh, there was guys out there. I worked, George Soterial and
yeah.
We put together a thing called the Boston Vaudeville Company that we, we would get together and we would meet like once every couple of months, and we had this thing we called it the Cube.
Okay.
Because we were just a bunch of squares. We wanted to learn how to improve our act, and so we would critique each other and get a pizza and just and we put together a little show called the Boston Vaudeville Company with Peter Gross and Alex Feldman, King of Jesters, and Jim Vetter, it was just George Soterial.
That's wild.
And we had a great time. Yeah.
Did you know growing up that you wanted to do magic as a career, or when did you realize that was even a possibility?
Well, a lot of magicians, they see another magician. And for me, I was in a toy store and picked up this magic trick and became fascinated with, this is interesting.
Oh, wow.
And, showing people and getting the reaction. I was kind of a shy kid, and this was sort of a way that I, came out of my shell was, I'll show some magic to people, and then kind of opens up a door,
What was the family dynamic like? Were you only child or brothers and sisters?
Youngest of 5.
Wow.
Yeah. So my parents were supportive, but, Mom always said, you might want to consider having a backup plan, That's just her being concerned.
Right.
But, they drove me to gigs, and, I was doing magic and clowning, and became president of the drama club in high school. And, I was trying to learn different aspects of the art, just to.
I love that you booked the castle and then a year later you're just like, that's it. I'm coming to LA.
Whatever fits in my van. And I drove out.
Wow.
Country, yeah.
You did the thing, man. That's the thing everyone talks about. That's like the romantic story of just leaving home and going to Los Angeles.
Yeah. Like I said, when I first came out, I got a job at a sign company as a designer to help fill in the gaps. And then eventually I was able to say, I'm pursuing my career in the entertainment business, and left that and just started to do it full time. Yeah.
That's so fun, man. And you've done not just, a lot of magicians know you for your creations in magic, and your act is freaking hilarious. And you're an incredible host, but you also act. Like, when did acting come into the picture for you?
Well, like I said, back in high school, I was, I was doing summer theater and doing a few different things. And then when I came out here, I went through a few different agencies and, did the audition thing. But I finally just, signed up with Central Casting to do background work. And it's, I realize most of the time I'm not using, the best of my abilities as a background, but I love being on set.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the whole process. And, there's good days and bad days. There's some days where I'm actually acting. But, I kind of got pigeonholed as the cop detective, which is okay because there's a few cop detective shows.
Right. Oh yeah, yeah. How many cop shows do you think you've been on?
Oh, I've lost count.
It's funny. I forget what I was watching. I was watching something, and I look, and I'm like, "That's Chris. You're like a Secret Service guy."
Oh yeah. Yeah, my family plays a game called Where's Baldo?
Where's Baldo?
Well, they try to find me in different TV shows. Oh, there's Baldo.
Oh,
there's Baldo. Yeah, I've been Secret Service for like 4 different presidents, 2 different vice presidents. Yeah,
that's so fun.
It is fun. I enjoy it.
How does the acting versus the magic compare for you? Are they totally different, or do you tend to like?
Interesting, because if I get a text that I'm booked on a show, I get really excited.
Yeah,
because you never know what it's going to be. It's different all the time,
right?
And that's great. If I got a thing that's, hey, you want to do a corporate show? I'm like, oh, corporate magic show. I don't know what I'm getting myself into. So it's the same amount of you're not knowing what's going to happen at that particular time, but it's like, all the things that could go horribly wrong.
Oh, totally.
And so it's like, I've done corporate shows where things go great. It's fantastic. They're a lovely audience. But then there's the few where it's, I'm doing the same act.
Right.
And they're staring at me and looking over the rubber chicken going, who is he and why is he here? It's, so it's so hit or miss, with doing.
A majority of my life is spent doing corporate entertainment. And it is so weird. It's exactly what you're saying. It's like one night, it goes great and they love it and they're so grateful.
Yes.
And you nailed it and you get a nice letter and they're like, oh, that you really made our event. And then 2 weeks later, you're doing the same show, same type of event, same setup. The room could be the same.
Oh, yeah.
And for whatever reason.
Yeah, it just goes south. If you could bottle that information of how to make every single, I'm sure there's guys out there that are, they're killing consistently. But I think, personally with what I do, it's like, some people get it, some people don't. I've kind of made it a parody.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of a guy that thinks he's cool, but isn't. That's sort of the character I've created. Oh, yeah. And, some people just don't get it.
Reminds me a lot of what Steve Martin did with comedians, that he's going up there and he's literally parodying what a stand-up comic of the day was.
Yes.
And so much of what you do really is kind of, it's got this inside joke of like, anyone can enjoy it and get something out of it and appreciate it. But for magicians, it's just like a next level of hilarity because...
one of the hardest things for me to do is learn how to, have silence on stage and it not be dead time. You know what I mean? But some of those corporate shows, that silence is unintentional. It's like, there's crickets chirping.
It's funny too when you talk to a client and you feel like, well, we both understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And this is going to be the setup. And then you get there and you're like, were you not on any of the phone calls we had?
I'm in the dark in a corner.
Right. There's a dance floor.
I call that the moat.
Yeah. The dance floor of death, the little moat in front of the stage.
It's going to just suck the energy right out of the room.
Yeah. All the laughs will fall into that pit.
And do a little dance.
Well, it's funny because most guys have like kind of one niche that they do in magic.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you're one of the few guys who you could host the show. You could be the comedic element. You have some material that you can do silently.
Mm-hmm.
Where did that variety come from? Was that just you wanting to, keep yourself entertained in the creation process, or was it out of necessity? Or
I out of necessity, I think, because you want to take every gig,
right?
You're like,
Yes.
oh yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
Sure. But I mean, I've also worked behind the scenes.
Yeah.
More than a lot of people know. It's, I've worked behind the scenes with a lot of magicians.
Oh yeah. A lot of times you're making the magic happen and someone else is on stage.
Oh yeah.
Taking the bow.
Happy to do it.
It's so fun too, because you get to have a different perspective when you work in the production side of it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And when someone calls and says, hey, you want to go to Italy or China or Germany? Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And
I want to do that.
I want to do that.
I want to do all the things.
A lot of those are great gigs, a lot of work, but
yeah,
I've been around the world on other people's dime.
That's fantastic.
Happy to do it.
I always hear, I think we all probably get the same series of questions,
Mm-hmm.
You cut my wife in half, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times people will ask, like, have you had like some major horror story that like you were on stage and it all went wrong?
It all went wrong and all went right at the same time. I mean, this was a fairly recent story. I'm working the castle.
The best. Yeah. Parlor? This was when you're...
No, this is in the palace within the last year. And, I'm doing my little comedy shtick there, and I have a wardrobe malfunction. My tux pants split open from the waist, like down past, and so my pants are falling down during my act. And this is the silent part of my act. So I can't really, so I'm shouting, I need a clip. I need some tape. I'm shouting off stage to Brian Lee, the stage man. So I'm doing the rest of my act trying to hold my pants up. Yeah. And it just, everyone's like, oh, you have to do that every time. It's hard to capture that moment, Right. And I used to do a bit years ago when I did the straight jacket, where my pants.
Where your pants?
I have a pair of breakaway pants, but this happened for real. And I look on both sides of the stage, and the other magicians are just doubling over, laughing because they think this is hysterical. And I'm crab walking across the stage.
Was this the last show of the night, or did you have more shows after that you had to figure out pants for?
I think that might have been the middle show. So I might have to do a little
gaff taping your pants,
whatever it takes. Yeah.
Gaff tape saves the day so often.
Often, yes. Gaff tape is your friend.
When you're doing a lot of shows, and then you have that moment, which we talk about, but like you have that moment where, okay, I was really busy for 3 months, and then it gets a little quiet. What do you do in that time? I know you do a lot of acting and things like that, but what do you do mentally? I do a podcast, so I don't go crazy. I talk to other people so that
Well, I mean, for me, like I said, doing the magic has become about I don't want to say a third, but maybe even less than that of what I currently do. Like I do the background work,
right?
That helps fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
Sometimes better than others.
Yeah.
And working for other magicians. So these things, I think if I had to do any one of those all the time, right, I might start to get burnt out. So for me personally, I kind of like doing different things. It keeps me, so I don't get burnt out on any one of them.
I know that you've created effects too. I mean, I have effect in my show that you created that you put out there and make available to other performers. But do you enjoy that process of working with someone on their act? I know you do this a lot with a lot of different guys behind the scenes. When did you first start going like, oh, maybe I could add some value to what other people are doing as well?
It's been a while. It's like people have been kind enough to share their information, with me. And like I said, working Wizards, I learned a lot from all, great ideas, great, information. And, when other guys say, I'm working on this idea, it is fun to be on the other side of it. Sometimes it's easier, to give people advice than it is to give yourself,
Oh, dude, isn't that the truth?
As my friend Jack Goldfinger would say, you can't see the picture when you're standing in the frame. So sometimes it's good.
That's amazing, Jackism.
Well, the other one, talking about, lulls in the, in your career. There was 1 month I look at, my calendar in December.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
Yeah.
Now it's December.
In December.
I should have a gig.
Right.
So, I'm bad with the business part of it. I'm just not good at it. I'll openly admit it.
Yeah.
But I sent out some emails, and within 2 hours, I got a call from the entertainment director of the Magic Castle, Jack Goldfinger, and he says, "Can you do a corporate show this Friday, 2:00 in the parlor?" And I said, "Yes, I can." I said, "I'm glad I asked."
Yeah.
He said, "If you don't ask for it, you're asking for it." And I went,
so good.
That's the new motto. If you don't ask for it, so sooner or later, you got to get out there and, let people know you're still around and still
it's so true.
Available.
I did an event for a client 2 years ago, and I had a great time with them. And I randomly one day, and they only had me do like a 25-minute, 30-minute set.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm randomly one day sitting there and looking at my calendar and going, man. And I go back, you go back and you start looking at like, what was I doing this time last year or 2 years ago? What work might be out there? And I called this client, and I just called them up and said, "Hey, I was just thinking about how much fun we had, and if you need any entertainment coming up." And they said, "Well, we'd love to have you. I know that you did your act last year, so we probably got to wait a year to bring you back." I'm like, "Well, I could do a different act." They only have me do 25, 30 minutes. I'm like, I can come do another 25, 30 minutes of things you haven't seen. And they went, "Really? Yeah. Great." And they booked it.
Fantastic.
But it's that thing of going, like you said, actually making the call or making the email, putting it out there.
Mm-hmm.
I hate doing that kind of stuff, but it's also how you survive sometimes.
Yeah. Bills to pay.
Yeah. I like Jack's motto of, if you're not asking for it, you're asking for it.
It's great.
When you first worked the castle, what was that like that first time you came out? Do you remember the experience, or was it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, it's the Magic Castle.
Right.
So, I'm in the parlor. I do my very first show. And at the time, I was doing a thing called the Party Reptile. I don't know if you remember.
Yes.
It was a thing. It's a snake basket, but it was all something I custom made myself. And it was basically a power antenna in a box. Well, the very first show I'm doing, the thing breaks down in the very first show. It just, I hear the thing grinding, and
show one of like 21 that
it's
week.
busted. So I'm backstage and I'm trying to fix this thing between shows, which I've got, half an hour to do it.
Oh my goodness.
Pouring sweat. I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to end with? I don't have a lot of backup stuff because I flew out here.
It's not like you can go buy one of these at Best Buy.
Exactly. So at the time, the host comes backstage. You go, "Hey, slow night, just one show."
Whoa.
I was like, the next day I'm at Radio Shack. I'll take one of these, two of these. And I rebuilt it. It worked fine for the rest of the week. But also, I was a little nervous.
Yeah.
I went upstairs to the dining room.
Yeah.
And I'm looking around. I'm like, I need some water. My mouth is dry, and I see a pitcher and what I thought was a glass, and I go to pour the water into the glass.
Yeah.
It was one of the candle things that went over the candles.
There's a hole in it?
There's a hole in it, and it's pouring onto the table. And now I'm like Bill Murray at the end of Caddyshack. I put the thing down and I just sneak away. I hope there's no cameras here. But as you know, that ended up in my act.
Yeah.
That's part of the...
It's so funny.
It actually happened to me, and that's how it ended up in the act. I go to pour the water, and I look, that's not a cup.
Yeah.
That's a candle chimney.
Don't you
candles,
love those little moments, though, where it's like at the time, you're like, this is a terrible thing, and then you go, oh, that was a gift.
That's a bit right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like when, things go wrong on stage.
Yeah.
Like, I can make that happen.
Was
again.
Comedy always a part of your act from the beginning? Or?
No.
Okay.
When I first started, I wanted to be the future of magic. I wanted to be the seer. I wanted to be like
cue you two or any what
dramatic music. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of David. What's David Copperfield? Everything is like Genesis or Peter Gabriel.
Cue some Peter Gabriel.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. That's because that's what I grew up. I grew up,
right
in the time that I was getting into magic. It was Copperfield and Henning. So I thought that was the combination. Vignettes. But also, I don't want to be the tuxedoed magician because that's, then
you're stuck with that.
It's a little too, on the nose. I want to be the future. So I would wear with these wacky outfits, and I had these custom made things with high collars and puffy. And I looked like an idiot. I looked like an absolute.
Do you save any of those headshots?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Thank goodness this is a podcast. Because if you saw them, you can't unsee them. But then, as I started to watch other magic, the magic I enjoyed more was watching the comedian.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. So then I became at this point, I don't know if I'm a parody of myself or not, but it's like, but I, it's not making fun of it's making fun with magic. That's what I think,
I think it's so important to take what you do seriously, but not take yourself too seriously. I think magicians, sometimes we can suffer from this thing of thinking that what we're doing is so grandiose and important. And it's like, the audience is like, you just found a card.
But I mean, there's guys out there who can make that work.
That's true.
They can be serious and pull it off as an art form. And kudos, it's just,
you got to know find your lane and stay in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you try for a bit to be super serious and dramatic? And
well,
I know you had the big collar, but
my senior talent night show in high school, I had this whole vignette about in the future. I had this voiceover in the future. Robots will become as powerful as the human race, and so it opens with me. I have a robot levitating in front of me.
Yeah,
and then the whole theme was if the robots get into the wrong hands, then the future could be destroyed. And I had these guys come in through the audience. There was a full-on kung fu fight, and they take the robot away, and then they put me in a straitjacket and put me into this box, and all of a sudden the box opens and my female assistant is there holding the straitjacket, and the robot takes the mask off, and I'm the robot.
Yeah.
It was goofy.
Yeah.
But I might try to bring that back.
You're like, now that I think about it, now the future is ready.
The future is ready.
The future is now.
I could parody that.
You totally can. Was there a time when you do the castle, you come out here, you move to LA, and when you finally get here in LA and you go, what have I done? Did you do that move ever of like, am I actually going to be able to stay here?
Every single day. No, that's only every other day, really. No, I mean, like I said, it's the roller coaster of the entertainment business. One week, at one point, I think, am I bipolar? And I thought, no, my life is bipolar.
That's great.
Because 1 minute you're living. I'm on a cruise ship, and the next minute I'm like, looking around, what can I sell just in case there's no.
Funny.
I mean, how much does a spleen go for these days? I don't know. I start selling my organs.
I've done that move where I go, which one of my routines do I not like the most? And I will sell all the props just so I can pay mortgage.
I'm the same way. I'm like, I just get a job at Hot Dog on a Stick.
Yeah.
Just
Jeez,
cash it all in, But there's always that, like you said.
Yeah.
There's always that hope. Yep. The next gig.
Yeah, it's like there's always just enough to squeak by, and then you go, okay, and then there's those moments where you're like, this is great. How could I ever have considered doing anything else?
But it's all about the people you meet too. I mean, that makes it totally worthwhile.
Totally.
It can make or break any gig, and and I've been fortunate enough to work with great people.
How long were you at Wizards?
I was at Wizards. Let me think. 93 through right around 2000. Okay. 2001. Yeah.
But you would stay on as host MC, and then they would rotate in different acts, right?
Yeah. Well, I started as a close-up guy.
Okay.
Which I'm not.
In the cocktail hour, bar area they had up there?
And I mean, they had some top-notch close-up guys. And I felt like a hack just walking around doing the 12 tricks that I know well, but I was able to just,
Yeah.
And I would always have my act in my car. And sometimes an act would be late, and the entertainment director, Fred Wood, hey, do you have yep, I got my act. Sometimes I would actually have my act set up on stage, and the other act would show up.
Oh, wow.
And was able to go on. But there was a few times where, for whatever reason, I couldn't, and I was always available to kind of fill in.
Yeah.
So when Fred Wood became the president, he would only, he needed an MC, and I was there, and I just became
that's great.
The full-time MC, which for me at the time was probably, don't tell anybody, it was the best gig around. I mean, I had a local in-town steady gig.
That's the dream.
A minute away from...
Sleep in your own bed at night.
Uh-huh.
And guaranteed work.
And working with, the top acts from around the world.
Oh, yeah.
It was great.
Was it ever intimidating being a young magician and having these, guys that you read about or heard about come into town? And
intimidating? I'm not sure that's the word, but there was one time where one of the managers was kind enough to show me a comment card that said, the MC sucked. And, it's these things that humble you. It's these things that,
Jeez.
humble you and also want you to
right.
become better. So that's, listen to the advice of the people that you're working with and, try to make it better.
Yeah, that's so good. Do you ever do practical jokes on each other in the show?
Oh.
When are you allowed to speak of those as the statute of limitations run out?
No. I mean, there's some good ones. I mean, there was one time where I was doing that routine I was talking about earlier, the party reptile, where I bring the woman on stage and I say, "Are you afraid of snakes?"
Yeah.
And then, like card tricks, And as I'm saying this, I'm putting on these work gloves.
Yeah.
Well, Greg Wilson, who I was working with at the time, switched out the gloves for 2 left gloves. So in front of an audience of 300, I thought I was losing my mind. And then I look back and he's got the other gloves like through the curtain. So it was a perfectly executed practical joke because for a it didn't bring the show to a halt totally.
Oh yeah.
It just made me, I was like looking at my gloves, flipping them around.
Right.
Like, what the? And finally I'm like, who did this? And I turn around and there's the gloves and it was a perfectly executed joke.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It was well played. Yeah. There's been, we could have a podcast for days about some of the practices.
But that was a good one. Someone was telling me about, was it when Jody was coming to town? Someone else was there and they spiked the stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that you?
Well, I was in on it, but yeah, we're going to do the Lion's Bride cage, the motorcycle van and shit. How did they fit all this stuff on the stage? You were so confused. Like, what's...
I do mostly corporate stuff, which is a good thing and a bad thing. It's good because it's good dollars. It's bad because you're always surprising people with a show. I feel like, you're talking about doing close up and Strolling Magic always seems like you're interrupting someone.
Yes.
I feel like corporate entertainment is doing that to a audience of 300. Hi, I'm now going to do a 45-minute show.
It certainly can be, like you said, it's hit or miss. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes they're excited that there's, some entertainment.
Right.
Other times they're looking at you like, was that dessert really worth
There's those moments where you go like, I really wish I wasn't doing this gig right now. Like those moments where you're like, I love magic. I love the opportunity to perform, but all I want to do is put this mic down and walk away.
Well, I mean, just this past December, I got a call from somebody, oh, can you do a corporate gig on this particular Saturday? And I go, hold on. And I talked to Jack Oldfinger, the entertainment director. I'm like, is anybody doing brunch?
Yeah.
I would rather go do brunch and know what I'm getting myself into.
Yeah.
And take the cut and pay than, show up at, 2 p.m. on a Saturday at some, there's guys out there who, like yourself, who I'm sure do it all the time. But for me, it's so hit or miss that it just causes me so much anxiety that
Yeah. Well, and you've done a lot of cruises, right? I mean, cruises tend to be a very similar audience. You kind of know what you're getting into, I would think.
Also, depending, they also can be somewhat hit or miss because they've got nothing. They have nothing else to do, and they show up. And of course, they want to be entertained, and a lot of times it's great.
Yeah.
But certain times it's like they've been out to. Sometimes you're on a day where they've been out on excursions, and they get there and they just want to sit back and watch. They might be enjoying the show,
right?
But I mean, there's no guarantee that they're going to react to it.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, and I did chips for about 8 years, and and that was.
Did you enjoy it, or was it like some guy? I've never done chips, but I hear it tends to either be it's the greatest thing in the world, or I really don't ever want to do it again, kind of thing.
I was right there in the middle. I enjoyed it while I did it.
Yeah.
But sometimes I would show up to a ship, and it seemed like 50% of the time they're looking at me like, "Why are you you have a hard time getting on the ship?" It's like, don't you do this every week?
Jump through all these hoops just to get there. Why do you have all this equipment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I went through full on fire safety training to do, and I jumped through so many hoops. And, after 8 years, what it came down to was there was one cruise director who, gave me excellent marks across the board, but wrote in the comments, "I'm not sure this act is appropriate for children." The same act that I've been doing for 8 years, on NCL, I had done 24 contracts on 11 ships over 8 years.
Yeah.
One comment was all it took to get me, they went to the entertainment director, never book him again. And I thought, really? That's all it takes? And Ron Wilson was my cruise agent at the time.
Oh, wow.
He said, I normally don't do this, but I recommend you send a personal letter to the entertainment director at NCL. And I just wrote a nice one-page letter saying, hey, listen, after all this,
Yeah.
Does it seem to make any sense that one person like this can decide my fate? I said, I can do a different act.
Right.
But not because I think it's offensive. It would be easier for me to do something, something different.
Right.
But yeah, so I wasn't really amped up to get back out on the ships again after that. But
it's the ships, people I think don't realize too, the audience gets to decide whether you come back or not. I mean,
well, the audience and the cruise director.
Yeah. And sometimes, I guess with any event planner or director, it's like if they had a bad day, sometimes you pay the price for, they got in a fight with their wife earlier and now they're taking it out on somebody.
Yeah, well, it's a fickle business all around. But with cruises, it's a microcosm. It's you're living a different lifestyle, and I enjoyed it for a while and met some great people and saw some great places. And,
oh, totally. Yeah. Did you ever dabble into like the world of illusions, like large scale stuff? I know you've done so many with, helping other people with their act, but like, did you ever get into any of that?
Well, back in the day in high school, I was into magic, and a friend of mine, I got him into magic, and my friend Rob Johnson, and he was he was going to a vocational school, and he could build stuff.
Yeah.
And so not only was he a great, he was a good builder, but we would get out and do these illusions that he built, and then he was also good with the business part of it. Like again, I wasn't, so he would go out and sell us at shows here and there. So he got us a job there was a local restaurant called Ground Round.
Okay.
And so I got a job as a magician doing table magic at this Ground Round restaurant. Yeah. And then the manager came to us once and he goes, we're supposed to have a signature clown character. Would you guys be willing to do that? So next thing you know, that's how well, my friends were bagging groceries and,
right.
I was Bingo the Clown of the Ground Round restaurant.
Yeah.
I don't like to brag, but, about my highfalutin career. But
I'm like, who books that?
Yeah, who books that? But for 6 years, I was doing silent clowning. Yeah. And I was doing magic at other, so I would do a little bit of a circuit. Yeah. And, doing tableside magic.
Did working silently totally, like, did you learn a bunch that you applied even when you're doing speaking parts now?
Yeah, I think it certainly helped because, you have to learn how to make things visual enough that it can, translate without words, Right. So sometimes I would just walk over and I would sit down and just do cups and balls at their table and,
I've heard people say, every move should be a picture before. I was looking at, I think just recently, maybe a month ago, you were in the parlor and Taylor Wong, you had those pictures that Taylor took of you, and every freaking picture is great. Like, I feel like it tells a story throughout your act. If you were to take a screenshot, I want to see this show. I want to see what's happening right now.
Well, I mean,
I feel like I look at pictures of myself and I'm like, I just look awkward and everything.
That's a tribute to Taylor's, ability to catch a certain moment. That he's a superb photographer. So that's a tribute to Taylor Wong's work.
But also, even I think we were talking about this when you were at the castle. But like, you bring into the parlor, you don't just go, I'm going to work out of this little Altoids tin like some guys do. You really bring a set and a show, and
as Jack Goldfinger says, you brought furniture. There was a local comedy club, Ha Ha Comedy Club, here in North Hollywood. Last summer, they were trying to start up this kind of vaudeville thing. Yeah, and I thought, this would be an opportunity for me to work on an act out of a briefcase. Okay, because I'm getting to the age where I don't want to carry the heavy stuff anymore, but I will if I have to, of course. Right. Because I can unload and load an 18-wheel truck for other people and do all this, but then I'll throw my back out making a sandwich. You know what I mean? It's like, so it's like I need to figure out a way to.
That's so funny.
It's true. I have.
Oh my gosh! Once every 6 months, I'll throw my back out, and you're just like, well, I guess I'm done for a week. I'm useless.
I was right over there. Yeah. I went to get a plastic bag out from underneath the kitchen sink. I went down like a sack of bricks. I had to crawl out, and I'm like, really? This is, So yeah, it happens.
It's from unloading all those illusions for years.
But I don't throw my back out doing that. I throw my back out doing the simplest things. That's why, if you see me helping somebody, I'm wearing a back brace. Yeah. But it's not. It's 50%, because of the support. But it's also to remind me, don't be an idiot. Don't.
Yeah, that's true. And I think probably when you're doing large manual labor at that moment, you're very conscious of how you're moving and operating.
Yeah.
Whereas you're just going to go pick something up, you just tweak or whatever.
Yeah, that's all it takes.
Well, when I walked into your house, I was geeking out because you had a couple of your magic cases there. And one thing people need to know, if you're not a magician and you're listening to this, is that magicians, more than magic, love suitcases.
Suitcases and things that hold other things.
Yes.
You should see. I like to label. I've learned from the best. You want to label things and try to be organized. It cuts down on the anxiety of oh my goodness, where's this stuff?
I remember the first time I worked with Dana Daniels, and he opened his suitcase, and he had a gallon Ziploc bag for each routine, and everything went into a Ziploc bag, and it was filed in the order, and I was just like, brilliant. For years, I've just been throwing crap in a bag and just rattling around.
Yeah, learn from the best.
Yeah, oh my goodness. But I totally walked in and I geeked out over it. I was like, oh, look at this. What do you got in this one? What's in that
one? You look in and you go, what's going on in here? It's like years ago when I had roommates, they were, a mutual friend. They're just showing them the apartment and they see all my magic stuff and they're like, what goes on here? All this weird random stuff. It's like.
So are you really trying to work out of a smaller bag? Are you trying to, or be able to, if you need to, kind of thing?
Yes. Yeah. I want to be able to, because there's situations where I've gone in and you look around and the angles are wrong. The lighting is wrong.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, I have to leave, like a comedy club situation.
Right.
I have to leave my stuff on stage for the whole show. Rather than bring it up and back.
Oh, that's the worst. And then the guy after he's going to be like, what's this? And start picking stuff.
Yeah. Fortunately that hasn't happened.
Oh, good.
But, yeah. But, I'd like to be able to have that suitcase shot. I think that's a lot of magicians' dreams.
Yeah.
But, I wouldn't mind having a few bigger things, too, that I was able to do in certain venues.
Totally. Yeah, I kind of go back and forth. I'll go, it's kind of like cell phones started off really big and then they got really small and now they're getting big again.
Yeah, exactly.
I do the same thing with magic. I'm like, I'm going to do the biggest show ever. And then I'm like, I'm sick of traveling with all this crap. I'm going to bring in just a little briefcase. And then it starts to slowly add. And now I'm kind of going back to the other side of things and going like, nah, I got too much stuff again.
Too much stuff.
I hope you're enjoying this episode of the About to Break podcast. 3 quick ways that you can help us out here at About to Break. The first one is to go on iTunes and leave us a review. If you enjoy the program, please leave us a 5-star review. Big thank you to everyone who's already done that. If you haven't yet, please jump over to iTunes. You'll need your iTunes account information. But you can click on the podcast, leave us a 5-star review. Just leave us a 1 or 2 sentence little blurb there. Let people know what you like about it. That helps us out huge. Second way you can help us at About to Break is by becoming a producer. Our goal is to have 1,000 people giving at least $1 a month to help offset the cost of producing these shows. And it does take time. And it is a passion project. I will continue putting these out for free because I think it's a helpful conversation. But anything you can do to help us out by producing the show would be awesome. Go over to abouttobreakpodcast.com, click on Become a Producer, and see what that's all about. Last thing that you can do, and this one is also a real simple way of making a difference, is just sharing the podcast. All right, when you see it out there on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, go ahead and follow along and then share it with your friends. Let someone else know how much you liked it because it sure does make a difference. All right, back to the program.
Magic is one of those great environments where you get to meet your heroes. You get to meet people that you looked up to, and I feel like it doesn't happen anywhere else.
Well, if you had told me 25 years ago the people that I would be working with,
right,
I'd say, no.
Right.
And the people that I would get to know and meet and hang out with, it's looking back on it, it's surreal. It's great to meet people that you respect and admire.
Oh yeah. When I was a kid, I was maybe 13, and I saw Blackstone Jr. perform at the Cerrito Center for the Performing Arts. And I went and saw him, and I just thought, this is amazing. I mean, it was a massive show.
Yeah.
Just so much equipment, and he had like cast of 40 people, and it just seemed insane. And then after he passed, I was living, my mom still lives in Azusa, but right down the street from Owen Magic Supreme we lived, and I had no idea that my entire childhood, his warehouse was right next to Owen's.
Right there.
And Gay called me. She's like, hey, I heard that you're a junior at the castle, and I need help around the warehouse, and would you want to come help, we got to set up stuff for video shoots. They still would like rent props for TV shows and Matlock and things like that. And I was like, yeah. And I remember walking into the Blackstone warehouse and just being like, I've seen, Harry Sr. props that like, I've seen these in books from the library. Like, this is just incredible that like, it's just weird to think that, if you're growing up and you're wanting to act, you can't just be like, I'd like to meet Tom Hanks. And then it happens. But in magic, I feel like, it really is kind of a small knit community where it's fun.
I enjoy it.
I'm just kind of geeking out because, we're sitting here doing this right now. I think there's probably like a lame question, like where do you find inspiration? But do you find that like, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write a new act or I'm going to write a new piece, or do you one day get an idea and take notes? How does the progression usually work for you?
Well, it's because you never know
Yeah.
when or where the inspiration is going to come from. You know,
Right.
It's like you could see something that's totally non-magic related and go, oh, I could turn that into a magic. But I have photos.
Yeah.
I'll see something on the, a photo on the internet. I go, oh, that's an inspiration, and I collect them in a file. I've got notebooks full of, stuff that, you look around the house and you'll see, I might work that into a routine someday. I've got it out so that it's a visual image. Right. I go, yeah, I'm going to work that into a routine someday.
Yeah. Do you give yourself like certain times to work on stuff, or is it just
totally random?
Totally random.
Totally. I wish I were that disciplined.
Yeah.
Like it's okay. Tomorrow from noon to 2.
Yeah. I'm going to write.
There are people that do that.
Yeah.
And much respect. It's just, I go out and I live life and I try to, find the inspiration when the inspiration comes and write it down. But the next step, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
Getting it out there. It's like, that's where it's like, oh, this was a good idea at the time. Is it really gonna, is it gonna play? And that's the step you want to take.
That moment, in that moment where you put something on stage and you're like, this is going to be great. And then it just sucks.
Oh boy. Been there, done that. Should have sold the t-shirts. But now as you walk in, there's a picture out there of me jumping out of an airplane at 13,500 feet. It's not just a random photo there for no reason.
Yeah.
Every once in a while I look at it and it reminds me, I've faced my fears.
Yeah.
And I survived. It's sort of a little reminder.
That's good.
And that's got to be the next step, is jumping out of that plane.
Yeah.
And hoping for the best.
When do you feel as a performer and as an artist with all these different types of shows that you do, because you are very versatile and can do a family show or an adults only show or a cruise ship or a theater or a corporate, is there a certain type of environment that you're like, this is when I feel like I'm in my zone? Like this is if I had my ideal type of show, this is what I'd be doing.
Well, the place that I work the most over the past several years, the Magic Castle. I feel so at home there and comfortable there. I know what I'm getting myself into. Technically, you don't have to worry about that. I still worry. I still have the anxiety of like, oh, am I going to remember this act? Because I really don't perform as much as I used to.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, am I going to remember this stuff? So by Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you're like, oh yeah, I remember this now. You start to get in the groove.
Yeah.
And by the end of the week, you've had a blast and you've worked some stuff out. But I want to throw some new stuff in the middle there and and work it out.
The castle's a great place to do that. There's always that. I always have that challenge of, do I do something new and feel good by the end of the week because I really worked out something? Or do I do what I know is going to be okay because I'm worried of what people think? Do you find it easy to throw something new in, or do you do that waver back and forth?
Well, I'm constantly trying to tweak the act, make it better and, work on props and, sometimes rather than do a new trick, it's like, oh, I bought a new jacket, and I feel like, oh, I've accomplished something, but it's not really the goal. But the last time I was working in the parlor, I threw some new jokes towards the beginning.
Yeah.
And I go, by Tuesday, I'm like, this was a bad idea.
Really?
Trying out new material at the beginning of the show, because it's like, it's not really there yet.
Right.
If I threw it in the middle, and that's obviously the better idea.
Right.
So, because I was coming out unconfident in the material.
Yep.
I wasn't that confident in it. And I went, oh, no, just take it out for now and tweak it later and put it in the middle. If I was in the middle of a show, maybe it would have worked better. They've gotten to know me, the personality, whatever. But when I first started working in the Palace,
Yeah.
I hadn't really fully developed a character yet. And it's always a work in progress, but
Yeah.
I brought several different outfits.
Okay. That week and tried different ones?
I wore a different outfit every night. And by Thursday night, I put on this open collared zebra print shirt, and I looked in the mirror and I went, yeah. And so it kind of came externally.
Wow.
Like this is the character that thinks he's cool, but really isn't.
Yeah.
So, and then, once you sort of develop that character, it shouldn't matter what you wear.
Oh, yeah.
It should, it just
everything
come
comes through that character.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So I just, it was a fun, different, I tried on different outfits every night. I went, oh, all right.
Oh, yeah.
And then, I just kind of came into something that went, oh, yeah, okay, this is how it developed. It was sort of, all right, I think I'm cool, but I'm not.
Yeah, that's good, man. I think that that's one thing I've never really done is figure out like costuming that supports what, the persona. I'm always just like, well, I'll put a suit on.
Yeah. Sometimes people, I've gotten comments, oh, you're a little off there in this particular, and I go, yeah, that's on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
that looks a little off.
Right.
Sometimes it's on purpose. Sometimes it's, wardrobe malfunction. That wasn't on purpose.
Right. But you're like, but now I'm trying to think of how can I add it to the act.
Exactly.
Have you ever had, I'm sure you've had this at the castle. I've probably seen this happen at the castle with you. But there's those late night crowds where the alcohol is flowing.
Oh, yeah.
And you get an interesting volunteer that you've got to.
Yes. I had one fairly recently who started to try to do karate on stage. She was
What?
She was full on like trying to punch and kick me, and I was running around the stage and I'm thinking, oh, I don't know what she's on, but
right.
But try to avoid getting hurt and try to avoid her getting hurt. And at one point, I think I just brought her off the stage and continued without her because it became a liability. It's like, she's on some sort. Sometimes you see and you go, oh, she looks happy. Well, she's happy because she might be on
right
some sort of hallucinogenic, and it was just she was.
And it was, at least it was clear to the audience what was going on there, and people were kind of like on your side and on her behalf too, trying to make sure everyone was safe.
I hope so. I hope that they didn't realize I didn't pick her on purpose because she was nutty. It became evident when I brought her on stage. It wasn't evident. There was one time it did work to my advantage.
Yeah,
I went down to pick a girl to come up on stage, and I looked down and I realized she had like 2 empty martini glasses in front of her, and she looked at me and she said, "I'm so not ready for this." And I said, "Neither am I. Follow me.
Let's go."
And I brought her, and she actually, it turned out to my advantage. And and just recently, working in the parlor, there was a birthday girl. She kept raising her hand, and I go, "Did you have a question? I mean, did you have to use the ladies' room? Are you okay?" And she, "Oh, I just want to help." And I'm like, "All right, I'm going to go with this."
Yeah, you're like, I probably shouldn't.
I'm going to go against my instincts.
Yeah,
and it actually worked out. She was.
That's great.
She was very happy to be there. I think if I didn't pick her, you have to use this. I don't know, call it instinct or whatever.
Right.
But you have to realize, all right, is she happy drunk or is she out of her mind drunk, going to do karate on me drunk?
Yeah, and that can change in a second.
In a heartbeat. In a heartbeat.
I did late parlor beginning of April, like last week of March, beginning of April. And the night that I was filming all 3 sets. And the first set went okay. We had an issue with the camera, so I'm like, we don't have that one. The second one went great. It was good. I was like, okay, we got a good one. The third one will be gravy. The third show, the entire first 30 seats was one party that literally I walked out, and before I said a word, the girl in front row goes, "Excuse me, magic. Excuse me, magic. Magic. It's her birthday and I'm her best friend." and then all these people go, "We're all her best friends." And that was, I tried for 2 minutes to do the act, and I was like, that's it. We're improvising this entire show.
Thank goodness you got that on videotape, right?
Yeah, I got the whole thing on video.
Beautiful.
I got the whole thing. And Taylor Wong was videoing for me. And so I really tried to get back to what I had planned. And then I was like, no, the only goal is to get Taylor laughing as much as I can on camera.
Perfect.
And he was at one point, he's just rolling on the floor. I'm doing a matching serial number thing on a bill. And so I say, go ahead and read out the serial. It's like this build up to this moment. And the girl goes, "Yep, that's what you have up there." I was like, maybe one at a time to build up the suspense.
Use your words.
Yeah. It was the best ever.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that exists on video.
Yeah.
Do you have any nightmarish videotapes that you go back and watch sometimes for fun?
I could compile weeks of just bad, frightfully bad magic. I could, yes, I've got it all on videotape, stashed away.
For a rainy day.
For a rainy day, yeah.
I think it would be fun to do, they do all these like magic subscription-based things, and it's all good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
We should not put this on the podcast because we should make this happen. We should have if you want to feel better about your act, here's all the best guys failing on video. And it's only for magicians.
Yeah. Funny you should mention that. Years ago, John Chirac had a convention in Tucson.
Oh, yeah.
And this was sort of an impromptu thing. The convention, the first night of the convention was over.
Yeah.
We all kind of, dragged in a cooler of beer and a bunch of pizzas. We sat in a circle and started to tell our most embarrassing stories. And I was crying laughing at some of these stories. And it's, we all reveled in our, all our, defeats and embarrassments and, just too many to mention.
When I was a junior at the castle, first time I ever workshopped, which is intimidating. I mean, it's a bunch of know-it-all kids who are at the castle and we all think we know better than everyone else. And then it's like the elders who really do know better than everyone else. And my now wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, we were going to do a metamorphosis. And I didn't know what I was doing, man. I figured out you could take a pair of handcuffs and you could, just kind of bend the prong around the back and make it look like you put them on, but they're really not. So you can have them inspected as real handcuffs. They are. And we just practiced this act doing this the same way. She would pretend to lock me up, but I wasn't really locked up. And, but they were real handcuffs the entire time. I never even had a key in the trunk just in case.
Wow.
And yeah, stupid. And so we're going to do our set at the castle and Brian Lee's there and he goes, okay, go. And he gets the music going and I'm so pumped. I'm at the Magic Castle about to perform for the first time. She goes to put me in the trunk and she puts the handcuffs on her here. Click, 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 click. And I looked at her and she looked at me, the whitest eyes ever. And then she just shut the lid. Like, figure it out. And I'm sitting there and there's maybe like an inch and a half on the side of my wrist. And I'm like, I can't get so I bent squeezed my hand together and I put my feet on either side of the cuff and I just ripped it out. And I had bruises, just purple for like 3 weeks.
Wow. But you got out?
But I got out.
Yeah. I couldn't get out of a straitjacket once.
Really?
And I go, stop the music. And I called the backstage. I go, hey, come get me out of this. And I just started to tell a joke. It's like,
really?
It was just something, caught up.
Yeah.
Like, hey, come get me out of here.
That's
anyway,
fantastic.
Start telling a joke or something like,
Harry Anderson made a whole act out of that.
He sure did.
That was fantastic. Just never got out of it. Those nightmare stories are some of the best though. In the moment you're freaking out and you're panicking and you're like, this is so terrible. And then later it's like your favorite thing to recount those moments.
They're some great stories.
It's a good reminder when things go bad to just be like, hey, this is going to be something you're grateful you went through.
And sometimes for the audience, they realize it's live theater and they're seeing something that's in the moment. Like I was talking earlier about the wardrobe malfunction. I mean, some people thought it was part of the act, and then you have to play it off sometimes.
Right.
You have to ride that fine line. Is this part of the act or not?
Oh, yeah.
It's like there's sometimes where you're doing something that seems to go wrong, which you have to pretend that something's going wrong and
oh yeah,
but other times stuff goes wrong.
And in life.
Indeed.
Do you have anything that you do, any ritual or some way of centering yourself to not panic either in a show or maybe when the shows aren't coming? Like what do you do to stay sane in the midst of this insanity we call entertainment?
Well, it's interesting because talking earlier about the anxiety of an upcoming show,
right,
and being organized.
Yeah,
I'll spend a week just okay, today I'm going to work on costuming. Today I'm going to work on, and so that I'm not the night before I can sleep. I don't want to be getting stuff ready the day of a show. I can't.
Oh, it's a nightmare.
I wouldn't be able to sleep the night before. And
right.
Talking about nightmares, you have the performer's nightmare. It's universal. You know, you have those nightmares. The curtain's opening, and where are my pants? And it's like, I don't even have my act here. I'm going to start tap dancing. You know, you have those performers' nightmares, like, and that's what, trying to spend the time within the week before or whatever, just to to get the stuff organized. And, because you don't want to be running around the day of a show going, I need this prop, or I need to get this ready, or.
Yep. I hate that feeling of being unprepared. And it's funny, the more friends I have now who are stand-up comics, it's such a different world. Because you've worked with, I'm sure, with tons of comedians where the magicians, we will get there 4 hours early. We've run our own sound check. We've got costuming and light. We've got all the props. And then a comic will roll in while you're introducing them. Take the mic and
walk
then
on and just just go. Yeah.
I was doing a show once where I was emceeing and I had booked the show and the comic wasn't there. And and we've got a silent act on stage performing, and I'm backstage calling the guy, and he's like, I'm pulling in right now to the venue. I'm like, dude, I'm going to go out. I'm going to do 3-minute bit. And then I'm supposed to introduce you. He's like, don't worry, I'll be there. Just introduce me.
Wow.
I walked out. I did my 3-minute bit. I was so nervous. I said, ladies and gentlemen. And I introduced the guy. He walked out, cool as a cucumber, did his set, killed, and left. And I was just like, how do you do it?
There's a level of respect there that's like, they know, they know they're going to be all right.
Right.
But I've worked with some great comics over the years, and it's a whole breed. I actually, growing up in Boston, I took a stand-up comedy workshop, and I worked on 5 minutes, and I went and I did every open mic night in, January and February in Boston, where I'm performing for the 12 other comics ready to go on.
Oh, yeah.
And learned how to bomb, but towards the end, I felt like I was getting a rhythm and a groove, and I moved out to LA and didn't do stand up again. But I got it out of my system.
Is that kind of like the stage version of your picture jumping out of the airplane where you go, look, I've bombed before. It's no big deal. Like,
sure, that's part of it. It's like getting rid of that fear of, what if they don't react?
Yeah.
It's like, there's been times where I've stood on stage and I don't want them to react. It's, it's part of the fun. It's like, okay, I'm going to do something that's fun for me.
Yes.
If you're along for the ride, fantastic. If not, and that, I don't want to say it's a level of confidence, but it's facing that fear, like, of, what if they don't react? Well,
yeah.
if you're doing what you like to do, and, hopefully they're all along for the ride,
Yeah, that's so good. I'll ask you this. This is not a how-to podcast. I mean, this is more of a how to survive than it is how to do it well. But if you were talking to a young person who's like, hey, I'm going to start doing magic and I want to do it as a career, what advice would you give to them, or what would you say to them that maybe you wish you knew starting out?
Here's the application for hot dog on a stick. Good luck. It's called a callback, ladies and gentlemen.
So
hopefully they didn't edit the first part.
No, that's so good.
No, I mean, like I said,
magic's like you were talking earlier about it, like Henning and Copperfield being on TV. Magic is very different now than it was then.
Yeah.
And then when we were growing up and watching it, what would you say to someone who's like, I want to do this and I want to, make it a career?
Well, I mean, find out what this sounds trite, but it's you find out what you really enjoy doing and just, and do it, but also learn other aspects.
Yeah.
Learn, like I said, I was in the drama club. I took stand-up comedy workshop. I took a voiceover, I learned other aspects that will help enhance what it is that you want to do. It's just, be a little bit more well-rounded, be able to go into a theater and know some of the terms. If you're, if that's where you're going to be working, know the term, just learn as much as you can about the aspects that are going to help you do what you enjoy doing, whether it's close up or stage or
always draw from those things in those moments when you need them.
Yeah. And I saw a lecture by Mike Bent, who is a comedy magician.
Yeah.
He teaches and he does this hilarious prop comedy stuff. And Boston guy, and he teaches comedy writing at Emerson. And, one of the things, he went in there and he goes, if you have a stock line in your act, take it out. And that's
So
the hardest
good.
thing to do
Yeah.
because there's lines that are stock that, it's going to get a laugh.
Right.
Guilty as charged. I got a few in there, but I've tried to weed them out and
Right.
I've tried to replace them with other things that are similar, but make it your own, tweak it and make it your own. And I try to do the same thing with, a lot of magic is just, I don't want to do it the exact same way everyone else is doing it. I want to tweak it and somehow make it,
Yeah. And then you feel like you've really earned the laugh. You're not getting a laugh off something that someone else came up with.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing like doing something that you really is like, this is yours and see people enjoy it.
Yeah. And so, or sometimes, writing something for somebody and watching them get a laugh.
Right.
That's also satisfying as well.
Oh,
to
yeah.
sit back and go, this line wouldn't work for me, but if they use it and it gets a laugh,
Yep.
I can sit back and enjoy that as well.
That's so good. Chris, it's been great, man.
Hey,
Thank you for doing this.
my first podcast.
We did it.
It was painless.
Yeah. We end by singing a song.
We do.
Yeah. We can pick it. No, we
I didn't get the memo. I didn't get the memo. Love for sale.
That's another way we can get through the hard times in magic.
Guys, got to make some money.
How can people see what you're doing? How can they follow along? Do you do the social media thing?
I'm on. I like to call it the Facebook because it makes me sound like an old man. I'm on the Facebook. I gram.
Yeah.
I tweet very little. But
Okay.
I tweet every now and then.
Yeah.
I may have tweeted a little earlier, but you couldn't hear it on the microphone. Yeah, no, I got a website, specialmagic.com. And yeah.
Awesome, guys. Go check Chris out if you click on the wonderful picture we've got of him there. Because we will.
What?
There will be a photo,
What?
and then we'll click on it. It'll flip around, like magic will flip around. There will be links to your website and all that stuff. Then go follow along.
This
and see
modern
what you're doing.
technology is beautiful.
It's amazing. Thanks for doing this, man.
Thanks, Taylor.
I'm going to turn this off. We can keep talking, but I'll turn this thing